Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. I need you guys to smash that like button. Today we're going to use FL Studio 2026. You guys will get the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. If you don't know me, I'm Game from busyworksbeats.com. We've trained over 1 million producers around the world. Some have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Polo G, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Glorilla. We have 3 confirmed Grammy winners and multi-platinum plaque winning producers. So what I'm going to guide you guys through is a step-by-step sequence on how to create an R&B track. Now, most of you are super creative. You just lack a process, okay? And that's why you don't finish ideas. So that's what this video is about. So again, the project files will be at busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. First, we're going to go load up sounds in the channel rack. So click this little button right here to load up the channel rack. Your new best friend is called Flex. Flex has loaded up new sounds that you probably haven't found. If you go to store, download all the core libraries. Okay, I've already downloaded them. So for example, core strings, core bass, whatever else is, the core libraries. We're going to go to where it says library, and I'm going to go to core bass. You may have thought we would start with pianos, but I'm actually going to go to core bass. And we're going to load up the first bass here. Now, one trick a lot of people don't realize is if you don't have an electric guitar in your house and you want to sound like an electric guitar, try bass in a higher octave. It's like a cleaner electric signal. Now, most people play bass down here. But what happens if you play bass up an octave? So we could do something like this. Really cool stuff like that. Let's go to edit, and just turn that down, and it just needs a little volume. So let's go back to the channel rack and just turn this up. So here I'm not going to call it bass. This is actually, we're going to treat this like an electric guitar. Okay, and again, people sleep on that because they just think bass is bass is bass. It's not all the same. Let's click the plus icon one more time. Let's open up Flex. Now here's where we're going to go to the library, go to core pianos, and we'll go to my favorite called Rhodes Sparkle. Okay, so it has a really nice sound. The only thing is I like to take off all the effects. So let's go to edit and remove limiters and everything else that's lit up. So even if you can't play on a MIDI controller, I'll show you guys some of the chords we're using. So we have the electric guitar, we have keys, and then now we're going to use the bass as an actual bass. So we're just going to right click and hit C to clone it. And I'm just going to right click, hit R to rename this and just call it electric bass. So we pretty much have all the instruments we're going to need: a keyboard for the chords, an electric guitar for just accentuating those chords. Okay, adding little accents and different things. We have the bass for the bass line. Okay, and then we have the keys for the chords. Okay, so next we're going to do drums, but we're not going to focus on drums just yet. Let's turn the metronome on and let's find a tempo for R&B. Let's slow this down to let's try 108. It might be a little fast. Let's see. Yeah, 108 is pretty slow enough. Okay. So let's right click in the channel rack. Let's go to piano roll. Now here's where I'm going to teach you some new chords. The definition of the sound will be determined by how you implement these chords. But just understand that there's levels to this, okay? You can play it by hand to get all the nuances, or you could just draw notes in. Drawing notes in is not the same as playing them. Here's why. We're going to start at C sharp. Don't focus on the scale, guys. That's another beginner mistake I see people doing is like, okay, what scale am I in? That's why you don't get into the genres you want to right away. So here we're going to build a chord called a minor ninth chord. So we're going to go to chord stamp to save time here. And let's look for minor ninth. Okay, and then let's drag this over top of C sharp. Now the main problem here is that everything's playing super loud, okay? And we're also going to turn this on only one under stamp mode so that we don't keep adding in the same chord over and over again. All right, that's very annoying if it keeps doing that. Now here's the flaw is that all these notes are grouped. So we have to hit Control, highlight these notes, hit Alt G to ungroup those notes. Now we can hit Control to select individual notes. Okay, but also it's because the velocities are all the same. So if you guys don't see this, grab the ellipses at the bottom here, pull this up, go to where it says Control, go to where it says Note Velocity, and everything playing at the same velocity is like me just slamming on my keyboard. It's just not how people play in real life. So what we're going to do this later, but what we're going to do is randomize the velocity so it sounds more like a realistic person playing. We're also going to soften the velocity. So before we even get to that step, just understand that if you're playing it, you will instantly get that result. If you're drawing in your notes, it's something that you have to go back and do to everything. So just keep that in mind. That is an added step. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, I'm just gonna give you guys another chord. It's too much to explain right in this beginner video. Just copy the notes on the screen here. This is called a dominant chord here, and I just don't have time to sit through the theory to teach you guys the theory. Just gotta watch my music theory tutorials. And one of these notes is off, so let's figure it out. So we have G sharp, we have D sharp, G, B, C sharp. I don't know why it sounds different. So even the same notes sound different when you play it versus clicking it in. That just shows how important velocity is. Literally the same chord, it just sounds different. So we have C sharp, then we have the next chord. And again, I'm just gonna show you guys the notes because we don't have time to explain music theory in this video. Normally I don't just tell you to copy and paste, but for now, we're just gonna copy and paste. Now what we're gonna do is hit Control down to pull this G sharp chord down an octave. Now my ear wants to hear a little walk up, they call it. Okay, so I'm just gonna add these notes. So we're playing an octave here. So we're gonna start here, G. And all we're gonna do is just draw it per the column. So if your piano roll looks different than mine, first things you guys need to do is go to the piano roll options in the top left, go to View, and make sure you go to Keyboard Options, go to Modern, and then go to Key Labels, go to All Notes. And we need to make sure our snap to grid, go to snap to grid is on half beat, okay? So that's gonna show it in 4 chunks. I'd recommend that for most BPMs, unless you're going smaller than like 100 BPM, then you could do quarter beat and lower. Okay, so we're gonna take these notes, hit Control, hit Shift to duplicate the notes, left click, hit Control up. So now they're duplicated up an octave. And now we're gonna pull this G up an octave, hit Control up. And then now we're just gonna use our ear because the way I played it was more finessed. But because we're not playing notes, we're just gonna type it in. Okay, so let's add these notes. And again, you guys are free to use your ear, so let's copy these notes, hit Shift, left click, and then hit Control down. The main thing is that we're duplicating the notes down an octave, so it feels very cohesive. Now we need to go back. So here's our chord structure, but we need to go back and add a realism because right now the second chord sounds nothing like the way we played it. So see how this chord sounds way different? Whereas in the piano roll, so you can have the best music theory, but if you don't understand how velocity translates, it could sound wrong. So the first thing we're gonna do is go to the tools. We're gonna go to Humanize. This is one way to randomize your velocity. In this case, we're not gonna mess with the start time offset. You guys can mess with that if you want, but for now, we're just not gonna mess with that. Let's go to Humanize. We're gonna go to where it says Velocity Range. We're gonna offset this and just look at the screen. You guys can see the velocities changing. So a higher range means more dynamic range between the actual notes. In real life, you're not slamming on the bottom and then playing soft at the top. It's just not how we play most of the time. So keep the range somewhere around like 0.5. There's no magical number. Hit accept. And now let's hear what it sounds like. So I'll show you guys little ways to enhance this. So firstly, we're gonna hit Alt X on our keyboard, and this is called the level scaling. We're gonna pull down the multiply so it plays everything relatively just lower. And now we're gonna get a more realistic way. That's a little soft. So instead of ding, ding, we're gonna add a little glissando here. So I'm gonna go to the note, the next note. We're just gonna make it smaller. You guys can hit Alt. To drag the edge of the sound, we're going to hit shift, duplicate it, hit control down. We're going to hit control to highlight these notes, and then we're going to hit alt and left click and just drag that note so it goes like this. We're just drawing that in manually. And now we just got to make sure the velocities match. Now again, this velocity before doesn't make sense. So usually velocity goes down, up. The second note is going to be the harder hit note. So now it's a little too soft. So let's hit Alt X and just pull up the multiply and hear it in real time. So now we're using this tension knob here. Now some notes it looks like it just completely turned the note off. So here's where we got to go through and just double check. So here I'm just going to hit Alt X one more time and pull this down. I feel like we lost some of the vibe. So let's hit Control Z. Control Z until we get back to this. And I'm just going to fix that one note that was a little soft. So you can target notes hitting Control or Control Shift to select multiple notes. Again, not the same as me playing it. So what I'll do is I'll play the same exact chord progression, but by hand, just to show you guys the difference in getting a MIDI controller. So I would recommend you guys get a MIDI controller if you plan to play chords and different things. So much more detail playing it by hand. Okay, I just want you guys to understand there is a massive difference so that you're not just clicking your way trying to think you can sound like a real piano. Maybe one day, but not in the beginning stages. So let's play the before. We'll play the after, just so you guys can hear the difference in clicking in melodies versus playing it by hand. So much more movement and fullness on the second half. So that's the little bit that you just can't get by clicking. I'm sure one day you guys will be masters at clicking in melodies, but like I said, in the beginning stages, just don't set your expectations so high because there is a very big difference between playing by hand and clicking in notes. Now what we're gonna do is organize our components that we created. So what did we create? We created a chord progression. There's 4 components to every song. The first component is called the top line. This is the memorable melody that everybody remembers. It's usually driven by a rhythmic motif, a repeating thing. Then we have the harmony section. This is your chords. You're glued to the track. Okay, then you have the contrast layer. This is usually your bass. Okay, but it creates a difference between the top line and that section there. It adds the density to your track. Then we have the rhythm section. This creates the perception of time in your track, okay? Now, the way I start most of every track is harmony first. So whenever you guys struggle with melodies, it's because you have not understood or you don't understand chords and harmony, okay? That is the foundation of everything. Because from harmony, we can derive a melody. We can take out the bass. I'll show you guys how to do it. So let's combine this. Actually, I prefer mine. So I'll give you guys the before, but I just prefer mine. It just sounds much better. So I'm going to nest this. Let's add a little track here. We're just going to nest this underneath like that. So here we have the chords. Now I'll show you guys how to take chords and make a bass line. So let's take our chord progression. What we're going to do is take all the bottom notes here. So the way I did it was I double clicked. We went to the playlist, guys. We double clicked where it says that the name of the pattern, hit Control Shift, highlight every single bottom note here that we have. We're going to take all the bottom notes. Even if we're not sure, we're just going to take all the bottom notes here and then copy and paste these. Let's see, there's even more over here. All right, so now we hit Control Shift to highlight all those notes, hit Control C. Now what we have to do is go to a new a new pattern. So let's go to the channel rack and go to new pattern just by left clicking and dragging this. And we're going to go to the bass and go right click, go to piano roll and hit paste, Control V. So now we've only pasted the notes that we just highlighted. Okay, so it's going to sound muddy by default because we haven't killed the overlapping notes here. So let's add this in. So I'm going to hit Control B to latch paste. You can left click the edges here and just pull this in. If your grid does not look like mine, change your snap to grid over here to bar mode. I like to arrange in bars unless I have to zoom into something very specific. So I'm going to grab the edges here and just pull this so it lines up with the grid. And the bass just seems a little too low frequency, so let's double click in the bass and hit Control up. So now there's the same exact timing of the chords and the same root note. So here's where I'm going to give you guys a shortcut. So instead of all these notes overlapping, we're going to hit the shortcut Control L. That will make it so that the notes don't overlap. So just like that, we already have the bass line and it comes from the chords. So if you guys want to get really advanced, we can combine the chords here, hit Control G so that it's all one big pattern, hit Control B, and then we're going to go to the top left here, click the drop down, make unique. And what this is doing is cloning everything about the pattern into another pattern. The reason I'm doing this is because what I'm going to do is copy the bass over, hit Control, highlight the notes or the patterns, hit Control B. That will latch paste it. And now what I'm going to do over here is remove the bottom notes of the chords so they don't clash as much with the bass. So I'm going to manually go through and highlight all the bottom notes here and let the bass line play those notes. So this is more of a jazz technique. Now I'm going to let those top notes play actually. So some of the top notes I'll let play, but any of these lower notes that are in that bass area, like, you know, the lower frequencies, we're going to take these out and let the bass be these frequencies. That way they don't clash. It will open up the track a little bit more. Now we could freestyle, or we can literally just copy the top notes of the chords. So again, I'm showing you guys how to take the chords and make a bass line. Now I'm going to show you how to make a top line out of the chords. So we're going to double click into the chords and we're just going to take the opposite. So instead of all the bottom notes, we're going to take all the top notes and hit Control Shift and highlight all these, including those little glissando notes that I have in there. And then we're going to copy and paste this into another instrument, which is going to be that electric guitar. And then I'll show you guys how to like add little stuff to it to make it sound more like unique. But first, let's hit Control C to copy those notes. We need to go to a new pattern. So you can right click here, go to Find First Empty. That will find a blank pattern. Then we need to be in the piano roll in order to copy and paste piano roll notes. So let's right click, go to piano roll, hit Control V, and just make sure the timing is the same. Normally I raise this up an octave, Control up, so that our ear can perceive the difference between the top line and the chord. So all we did was copy and paste the top notes of the chords and pull it up an octave. That's what we did so far. And we played it with our bass. Now this seems a little bit offset. So I gotta figure out why it's offset. All right, so something offsetted, I think, because I played not on the downbeat and we're missing a note. But long story short, we're just gonna hit Control A, hit Alt, and nudge this to the left. That should fix it. And then made it worse. Let me figure out the timing of the chords, figure out why it's slugging like this. So it is a little bit behind, actually. I stand corrected. All right, so what we can do is I'm going to use my MIDI controller to record pitch bends into this, into the guitar. So without even adding more notes, I'm going to turn up the guitar so you guys can hear. And by default, it's set to pitch range 2. So if you click your little settings here, go to the wrench tool, I'm turning up the volume here and I'm looking at the pitch range, which is normally 2 on a pitch wheel, 2 semitones, meaning if I play a note and pitch it down all the way with my pitch wheel, it goes down 2 notes on the keyboard. So you can do really creative stuff. It makes it feel like you're playing a new note just with pitch bends. Let's go to the channel rack, double click everything. Let's hit Control L. So hopefully you guys are understanding. Everything comes from the chords. That's the lesson so far. Everything comes from the chords. If you struggle with melody, go back to your chords. If you struggle with the bass, go back to your chords. That's the lesson so far. So now I'm recording in manually without adding any more notes, just small little pitch bends into our melody. All right, so let's solo the top line so you guys can hear the little details in that, the pitch bending. So I like the tone of it, but let's try going up one more octave. Now the cool thing is because we recorded the pitch as an automation, it's baked into the pattern, and all we have to do is just move the notes around. So I kind of like both. I like it down an octave and I like it up an octave. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit Shift, left click on the pattern in the playlist area, which is this button here. We're going to go to the top here, going to make unique. So it's a new pattern with the same exact information. We're going to double click into pattern 7, hit Control up so that it's up an octave. So now it feels like we're doing something new. It's just the same thing. And now what I'm going to do is use the mixer to start adding a vibe to the sound. So I want to add like some kind of delay and reverb. Let's go to the mixer, which is this fader icon here. We're going to open up a new channel called a reverb channel. And we're going to add, let's do Fruity Convolver. Most people don't even know this exists. We're going to turn down the dry level and we're going to load up, go to load sample. I'm going to use either spring reverb or we're going to go with like some kind of chamber or hall. Let's go with a hall reverb. And let's do large hall. Now you guys can experiment with anything here. There's no magical one setting. Okay, now also on the electric guitar, we're going to add Fruity Delay 3. This is going to create more rhythm in the actual top line. So it feels like we're adding more notes even though we're not. Just going to pull back the dry level. Just copy these settings, guys. I'll give you guys the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Excuse me. We're going to turn the wet level down. We're going to turn the delay model on ping pong mode. We're going to turn the pan up and then mess with the tempo sync time value here. So it just adds more dimension to the guitar. Now to send it to the reverb as a duplicate, basically what we're doing is duplicating the signal and sending it to the reverb. Click on your electric guitar track, left click the up arrow at the bottom to send it as a duplicate. So now we have two directions. We have one being duplicated over to the reverb and one of the signals going out as is to the master channel. So it's basically duplicated and we're going to the reverb now. And you could turn up the arrow amount to up the amount of reverb. So I'm going to turn off tempo sync and just kind of do it by ear. So now we got to program in some drums. Let's go back to our browser. Now the stock sounds are not going to really do you guys justice in terms of like real R&B. So let me think of a way. Let's open up FPC just to see if it has drums, but I don't think it does. The drums that we need, let's go to preset. They have a funk kit, they have a jazz kit, and they have an electronic 808 kit. I'm not sure that will give us the vibe we're going for. So if you want those like Lil Wayne drums, you can go with the 808. Now it's probably best you record this by hand. Now here's another thing I meant to mention here. If you guys turn on what's called the typing keyboard to piano icon, this icon, you can actually use your typing keyboard to play the FPC. What you want to do is right click and then change the layout to FPC and then hit reset. Okay, so hit the layout FPC and that way you can play the FPC on your QWERTY keyboard. Okay, it will be a little bit easier. So I'm debating if I want synthetic drums. Let's record this in. All right, so I'm already off rhythm. Let's do this again. Make sure the metronome's on. Record this in. All right, again, you guys will get the project files for free. You can manually just go into your piano roll and click that in. But like I said, guys, there's a difference between playing stuff by hand and just drawing it in. It's just not going to sound the same. So all I'm doing here is this. We're going to quantize the notes. I learned this from Infinite. Hit Shift Q. It will quantize the beginning of your note. We're going to change the snap to grid to 1/4 beat so we can quantize to the right grid. Hit Shift Q. It may not have the same bounce as playing it by hand, but this way you don't cause as many errors. So now we got to add the kick and the snare. I know you guys can tell there was a vibe to me playing it by hand, but let's just hit Shift Q just to keep our everything uniform. Now you can tell some of the instruments are a little early. I'll show you guys how to fix it. What we're going to do is group all the instruments. Now this is an advanced tip, so this is not mandatory. We need to go to our mixer. We need to group the instruments. So let's hit Control, highlight everything, right click and route to this track only. So the instruments, and we're going to open up a plugin called Fruity Stereo Shaper, and we're going to add what's called a delay to the entire signal. So what we're doing is offsetting everything on this. Actually, what am I saying here? Wrong plugin. Let's use Fruity Delay 3. I forgot that one has a left right offset. I don't feel like setting that up. So let's just go to Fruity Delay 3, turn down the dry level, turn down the feedback, turn off tempo sync, turn down delay time. Now everything in this becomes an effect. So we're going to use the delay time as an effect to move the entire audio signal to the right. Again, this is a very advanced technique. I'll exaggerate it so you guys can hear. So if I turn this up, you can hear the instruments lag behind the drums. If I pull this down, they fit more in the pocket. So we're trying to find what's called the pocket. Sometimes that pocket could be 5 milliseconds. You never know. So we're just going to do it by ear. And now I'm going to make sure we send that electric guitar back to the reverb. Just click on the electric guitar and click the up arrow on the reverb to make sure it goes back. You guys can literally add any other instrument. I'm just gonna add little accents here and there. We're gonna right click, and this is what I call the expression layers. I'm not gonna bore you guys to death about like the nuances here. The main thing is what we're doing is just adding another section that exaggerates something. So in this case, I can either exaggerate the harmonies by playing, you know, cool stuff like this, or I could do pitch bends, playing the chords. That's probably what I'll do. So just little accents like that. So that would be a harmony expression layer in that case. So what we're doing is we're taking a component and we're exaggerating the elements in that specific component. So that is what I call the expression layer. So here's what you do to elongate your arrangement over time. Instead of it just repeating the same puzzle pieces over and over, you know, you want to focus on this section almost as if it's a second beat, but you're tracing around the first beat, if that makes sense. All right, so let's add that guitar and let's just do stuff. Now on this guitar, I'm gonna be fancy here and add a plugin called Fruity Stereo Shaper and just add delay. Of course, I put it on the wrong channel. We're gonna have Fruity Stereo Shaper, add delay. So this creates a delay between your left and the right ear. Common, like, you know, old school Dr. Dre technique, creates stereo delay. Now I'm just duplicating the instruments and just playing usually higher octave things in exaggerative ways. So here I played the same exact chord progression, I just played it up an octave and I played the notes spread out. So instead of playing them all at once, I played it like, okay, so it has a rhythm to it. So little details like this. And then we can add that same effect just so our ear can perceive it differently than the chords. You don't have to, it's just a technique I'm using for this track. Add that Fruity Stereo. And one more thing I'm going to do here is combine the bass layers, highlight these two, hit Control G so it's a different thing, hit Shift, drag it over, click here, make it unique. So now we have basically two different styles of bass. I'm going to do the same thing we did for the top line, which is to go back and record pitch bends into the bass. And that will be the differentiate for this section. And then what I'll do is I'll remove the original chords and then only leave our harmony expression layer so that the song feels like it's changing over time. So let's go to basically pattern 7 here, and we're going to go to the bass and record in pitch bends into the bass. So again, it's on that same 2 semitone technique. I'm using my pitch wheel. You guys can also right click if you don't have a pitch wheel and link this to a controller. And I'm not sure what you would do on QWERTY, actually. That's a good question. You can automate this basically. You can just right click, create an automation clip, but I'm not going to do all that right now. You guys have to watch my automation videos about that. So yeah, this is one thing where we're taking advantage of our MIDI controller. So let's record this in. All I'm doing is just using my pitch wheel. And then again, we can copy that bass with the pitch bends in it, make it unique one more time, double click on the notes and hit Control down. So now it's going to be down an octave. So we're creating all these little micro changes. We're not changing the music. We're just changing the way we perceive the music. And that's what all these components are for. Again, you guys can learn how to arrange busyworksbeats.com/premium. We have plenty of courses. We have 90+ courses on music production. But you guys will get the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Let's play this from the beginning. Now, we still have yet to mix this, but I don't think we have time to be mixing this track. So I'll just show you guys a quick little way that I'll kind of glue this together, even though it's not really a mix. It's just using what's called the Fruity Limiter. Let's go to Fruity Limiter. We're going to turn the ceiling all the way up, turn the compression on, threshold to the left. Just copy the settings, guys. It's too much to explain. Ratio to the left. This is called expansion. And then we're going to turn the sustain up. So now it will basically make the highs even higher, meaning the high pointy stuff even pointier. Now, if you feel like it, we can go into a Fruity Soft Clipper. It's not mandatory here because we're not slamming the volume. Another thing we can do to add sizzle is add a little saturation in the Fruity Limiter. Let's see what it sounds like without that delay on it. right, so that is how you guys can make R&B right inside of FL Studio 2026. The real secret is that pitch bend technique. That's what I learned from my guy Mars from 1500 or Nothing. And that's what creates that R&B vibe and adds that extra soul to it. So go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio to grab these project files for free. Thank you guys for watching. It's a game from busyworksbeats.com. Peace out, guys.